5 after midnight, where truth is stranger than fiction. One.
I wake up every weekday at 5 a.m. to get ready for work, and I have to be there at 6:30 a.m. The morning in question, it was still dark as the sun had not risen yet. By 5:50 a.m., I am all dressed and ready to head out. Before I do, I try to grab a little breakfast for myself and warm up my car. So I do just that. I put 2 cinnamon waffles in my toaster, put my shoes on, and run out to start my car. I start my car, which is a push-to-start car, and decide that while I'm at it to scrape the back window of my car because I know that my defrosters will not work as fast. After scraping for about 2 to 3 minutes, I run to the door and I find that it's locked. Not only that, the kitchen light is also off. I'm thinking my mom or my brothers must have locked the door and turned the lights off. Luckily, having a push-to-start car, I still had my keys on me. I got in and checked the toaster. Now this is the part that really puzzles me. Not only did I get locked out of my house, but my fucking waffles are gone. I knew that I was going to be late if I tried to heat up another, so I decided to just buy breakfast at work. I grabbed my stuff and headed out. As I was walking to my car, which was about a good 10 steps from my house, I could tell that my car wasn't on. My heart dropped as I thought my car just broke down. I decided to try and start it, praying that it won't fuck me over. It started, and I was so happy. I put the car in reverse, turned my back, and what I saw next hit me like a ton of bricks. The back window wasn't scraped. I thought about it. My car wasn't warm. The toaster wasn't warm either when I went to check on my waffles. The time read 5:54 a.m.
Two.
When I was 11 and started high school in the UK, I had more freedom than before, and I used to walk the 2 miles to and from school. One day, I was coming home alone, and I think I must have been delayed, as there weren't any other kids about as I remember. I glanced down a street, and this is the UK, and there are often long streets of terraced Victorian houses with shorter streets of similar houses branching off of them. Anyway, I saw at the bottom of one of these shorter streets a second-hand junk shop. It had a lot of stuff inside it, on pavement and hanging up. It was odd to see a shop in a residential street, and I love that type of shop, so I walked down the street to take a look. I remember a pair of white ice skates hanging outside and a lot of chairs and junk like vases and pots, etc. I saw the woman inside the shop and smiled. I had a poke about the thought that I could go back when I had cash. Next day, I looked down the same street, but there was no shop. I used to go back all the time trying to find it again. I can still see it in my mind's eye, and I've even Googled it to see if there was a shop there once, and it always comes up with a blank. I see the woman's face, the skates, everything. But I just can't work out what happened that day.
3.
So when I was around 4 or 5 years old, I lived in Northern Ireland because my dad was stationed there, and I'm an army brat. And I vividly remember having a best friend called Greg. I would go to his house all the time, play with him and his brothers, and I would have dinner with his family. I even remember the day I moved away. He came to my house with his parents and waved me away as we drove off. When I turned 16, we were going through old photos for the most cliche tradition of a birthday photo board, and I asked my mom why I was never in any of the photos with Greg. She looked extremely confused and said that she didn't remember a Greg. After extensive Googling and asking the rest of my family, including my own twin brother, it turns out he didn't exist. Neither did the area of the camp he lived in. Thanks to Google Maps, I know that. But this isn't the glitch part. Around a month ago, I got a friend request from someone called Greg Jones. I instantly matched the name and face to my imaginary friend, and I freaked the fuck out. I accepted it and clicked on the link to his profile, but it led to a 404 page. I searched my friends list and my recent activity, but Greg's name was nowhere to be seen. So I'm being fucking stalked by an imaginary child. When I was in college, I sometimes stayed up late visiting friends on campus. I live roughly 7 miles away, and it took 10 minutes to get there by car. Before I set out home, I would always note the time of my departure. This one time, I left at 2:45 a.m. I was driving down the road, and an extremely heavy fog set in. Visibility of maybe 10 meters. I drove very slowly. I thought I would be home around maybe 3:05 or so, or even later. I actually do not remember the trip at all, beyond driving very slowly. However, when pulling into the driveway, I noticed that it was only 2:46, so only 1 minute had passed. Stranger yet, my odometer was the exact same as when I had set out. I called my friend, who informed me that I had just walked out the door less than a minute ago. Then I lost signal. That by itself wasn't surprising, because my place had a crap reception. But the next day, he had no recollection of my visit. This guy doesn't fuck around with things like that either. Oh, and he also had no record of my call on his phone, though. I had the record of my outgoing call on my phone. My mom and I park our car at a multi-story car park regularly, right beside our apartment building. Normally, we park our car every day in the same spot at level 4B. We go through our usual routine of walking and taking the lift up to the level, and the car wasn't there. You'd think maybe it was blocked by another car, which happens a lot since our car is fairly small, but the car park was empty. We panicked, of course, and automatically assumed we'd accidentally parked our car somewhere else. Car theft isn't common in our country, so we ruled that out. We spent about 20 minutes individually walking up and down, checking every car and every level for our car. Until the third check, where we found our car back at 4B, parked in our usual lot, in our usual spot. There were, of course, no cars around it either. This certainly weirded us out. We were certain we had checked everywhere, not to mention the level was completely empty. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the show. If you have a story to share, send us an email, like us on Facebook, share, like, and subscribe.